do you guys get anxious when you're playing multiplayer against people? Like sweaty nerves? I can't handle it sometimes.
In Mario Kart or just in general?
Just in general, GoldenEye, like you're afraid to come around the corner and get shot in the face with a golden gun, or...
All the time, yeah.
I can't stand that.
It stresses me out, dude.
It's like when I was down there last time and everybody was playing Diddy Kong, I couldn't handle it. I just had to back away.
Because it was Diddy Kong or because it was multiplayer?
Because my eyes were bleeding. No, I don't know. It doesn't matter. I even get nervous when I get stuff like the golden gun. Because it's like, oh crud, here's my chance to shoot people. And I better not mess up. Or like if I get red shells or green shells and I throw them, that makes me anxious too. Is there something wrong with me as a gamer?
I recently had that in Titanfall. So in Titanfall, you can call your Titan like every 2 minutes. And every time you get your Titan, it's like your power up basically, right? So it comes down, I jump in it, and then I just rush into battle. I'm like, ah! And then within 5 seconds, my Titan's dead. So yeah,
where's that come from? Where's that anxiousness come from? Like, what's the deal? What's the deal?
Because you want to be the best, right? You want to kick everyone's ass, and I mean, you want to be good at it. I think
that lasts like the entire experience, and there's nothing more like fulfilling than ending a multiplayer session and going home and not having to deal with it.
You know what happens to me is when I'm on a streak in Rock Band, I get the same thing because when I become aware of the streak in Rock Band, my hand freezes and then I screw up the guitar every single time.
So it's like performance anxiety.
It is, man.
I did have a question for you guys, though, like an actual scripted question. What game would you guys like to be inside of and experience as yourselves, and why?
If I could take over the body of any character?
No. If you could be you, so like you could be in the Mushroom Kingdom or you could be in Hyrule, what game or game world would you like to be in and experience as yourself, and why?
World of Warcraft.
You want to be you without any armor and stuff like that. Just you as a human.
I think I could make... Well, I never said I'd be Alliance, mister. I think I could make a great living in the World of Warcraft. I could be a blacksmith, for instance, in Goldshire.
A blacksmith?
The blacksmith. He doesn't do anything? I can't...
Yeah. You might be shot in the back over a matter of $70.
Yeah, I pick Warcraft. Definitely, man. Who wouldn't want to live in that awesome world?
Glenn?
It wasn't a Star Wars game. I don't know how to respond.
Would it be the world of Zebes or Zebs or whatever the hell that planet is called?
Hey, Zebes!
I think it's Zeebies.
What's up, Zebes?
Hey, Zebes, thanks for coming out. Welcome to the world of Zebes. You want to play in Zebes?
Honestly, Zebs, whatever, it doesn't seem like a very fun place to live in.
No.
It would be scary.
No, there's not a lot of opportunities for social interaction.
I mean, most of the time, people don't even know if you're a guy or a girl.
Oh, here we go again. No more Metroid jokes. Okay, answer.
Dead or alive beach volleyball.
Wow. I'll give you 2 reasons. Oh!
Well, more than 2.
Welcome to another Gamercast. I'm your host, Rob McCallum, joined by the video game rockstar Jay Bartlett and our producer Glenn Stanway.
Ew.
Guys, say hi.
Sup, y'all?
So last week, we did a bit of a potpourri kind of Q&A, and this episode may very well go the same direction. There is a topic, but I won't reveal it unless we actually get there. We got barraged by questions on Facebook, and some of the questions we get to will attest that if you write in and ask us to say stuff, we will get it on the air. We do have more fans than just Steve and Ian, who are magically absent from today's episode. Sorry, everybody, for the spoilers. We do not have any commentary from those two guys. I think Ian is too busy looking for the best indie games on the Wii U instead of console titles. And Steve, we haven't heard from in a while. Glenn, did you want to chime in?
You're telling me that people actually had things that they wanted to express to us after that last episode? I'm shocked.
Yeah. There were some things that they wanted to say. I have a bunch of questions from people, first and foremost, separate from our last discussion. last discussion and some thoughts from other people, some very high critical valued opinions from our listeners out there. I guess we should just get into it. Oh, I do have an update. I actually want to say hello to our fan base. I was looking at the geography for the podcast, guys, and we have listeners in Colombia, Brazil, the UK, obviously, Sweden, France, Australia, Ireland, Russia, Denmark, Ghana, and of course the US and Canada. So thank you all for listening to this.
That's awesome.
Kind of insane that we are spanning the world with this this drivel.
It's incredibly cool, actually.
Thanks to
thank
everybody.
you.
Yeah, for sure. That's quite humbling.
Also, updates on the NES Club. We are still battling to get it done, but around the corner is the Classic Gaming Expo, and if you're going to be out in Las Vegas from September 12th to 14th, we will be in attendance showing off some footage, some never-before-seen clips that may or may not make it into the extra feature section, but you will see some really cool footage, and there is a strong possibility, I won't confirm it, a strong possibility you may see the first 10 minutes of the film as it exists at the time of the convention.
Woohoo!
Just throwing that out there right now. Now, Glenn,
Yes.
you brought up some thoughts from other people reacting to our last episode. One of the suggestions was from one of our friends that what we say, we seem to pass off as truth. This was from a friend who I'll just say is William L., or W. Law.
We don't want to give anything away.
That our opinions were truth. And to this individual and anybody else listening, I just want to say, look, clearly this is an opinionated show. And if you can't see through that, well, just keep listening. You'll catch on. This is just, us just thinking what we think. I mean, what do you guys think about that? Are we trying to present fact?
I think maybe if the resolution or the frame rate were higher, Will would have clearly been able to see.
He must have been listening through the Xbox One at 900 frames per second or something.
I'll just say that we have episodes where we don't even agree with each other. So I would like to think that people don't think we're claiming anything we say is gospel. I mean, we have strong opinions, but I mean,
when do people in the video game community agree on anything anyway? It's just normal, isn't it? I mean, go on any forum. You could say Mario's hat is red, and there'd be 10,000 people. No, it's not. It's a shade of orange or whatever. So,
Jay, we all know it's Crimson Valentine red. Not
there you
just
go.
Red. It's a huge difference. Quit trying to pass that off as truth.
There's my point. There's my point.
God, you're polluting our show, and we're losing viewerships. You're not speaking at 60 frames per second. We're not presented in 1080p. It's a subpar experience. It's no longer fun. I'm done.
I didn't realize our opinion on The Last of Us Remastered was such a controversial topic, to be honest.
It's very contradictory to most people's opinion on it. And I mean, that's something we talked about on the last episode, too. I mean, we were not going to be sharing an opinion that was in line with what most people feel about that game.
Okay,
right.
So let me bring everybody up to speed who may not have listened to the last episode. I talked about my reaction to The Last of Us, and we got slammed for essentially, I did at least, criticizing the story and not really liking the game. All right, because everybody loved this story, and it was supposed to be the best game that has ever existed ever of all time for some people, because it runs at 60 frames per second at 1080p.
Well,
so Glenn, go ahead. That's me catching everyone up.
I'm going to pass it off to Jay because I think of the three of us, Jay is probably the one who had the most positive experience with the game from what I understand.
What bugs me about... I just finished it maybe about 5 days ago. And everyone's talking about how great it is.
Whoa. So there's an actual ending to this game?
Yeah, it finally ends.
Holy crap. Okay,
everyone's talking about how great it looks and everything, but I don't hear a lot of talk about how absolutely incredible the acting is in that game. I've never... Did you say that?
I said that on the episode.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
The acting in that game is so great, and it's not a new story. It's a zombie story that was told 20 years ago and 20 years ago before that. But each character that you come across in that game...
Jay, the story is the best part.
But hang on.
It's the best story ever.
Each character you come across in that game, you actually care about, I've found. You actually care about what's happening to them. It's not just throwaway characters yes, I'll say it, like The Walking Dead. Where in The Walking Dead, you'll meet somebody in an episode or an issue, and you don't even get to know them or know anything about them, and then they die, and you don't care because you never knew them in the first place. I found in The Last of Us. Do you know what I mean?
Ironically, that's not true of the game. It's not true of the Walking Dead game.
True.
I was talking about that is true. I was speaking specifically about the comic book.
The TV show is probably
the TV show first and foremost. I liked all the characters in that game, good and bad, because they were so well acted, and I don't hear a lot of people talking about it. I've never seen acting performances in any game like The Last of Us.
Don't get me wrong, the acting is good, but I really didn't care about the characters. The only character I sort of cared about was the one villain they introduced, who's a human, during that point where you've got to switch back and forth between Ellie and Joel.
Yep.
He was the only guy that I remotely found interesting. Everybody else, I just wanted to die, turn into a big fungus face, and spore themselves off. It's a good game, okay, but it's just not this Statue of Liberty, iconic thing that everybody has to experience. It's solid. And I played another game after, Sniper Elite 3. I don't know if you guys have played this game. I shared some video, I think, yesterday. It's another stealth game. It has a lot of emphasis on being a sniper, which you guys, Jay, at least you know that's what I always loved, playing like Halo and stuff.
Yeah,
so this is a game for me. It's set in World War II. You get to snipe, but it's a lot of stealthing around. The controls aren't as tight as Last of Us. The objects weren't as clear. The surfaces were subpar, in contrast to Last of Us. It's not as good of a game. But there are a handful of things in Sniper Elite 3 that are so satisfying and gratifying. When you shoot somebody, it's like complete bullet time, and it goes to like this X-ray camera type thing. And you see the bullet pierce every single bone, and that's exactly what's missing from Last of Us. And Glenn, you mentioned this last week. There's nothing fun about the game. There's nothing like awesome about it.
That's largely my opinion, and I've said before, I will absolutely. I have no problem with people loving that game as much as they do, and I will defend.
Sure. Agreed.
People want to give it Game of the Year awards, and I do not think they are wrong. I understand what an incredible achievement that game is. I can understand why people are drawn into that story. And like Jay said, and like I said on the last episode, Naughty Dog, and it's not just Last of Us, because the Uncharted games are very much like this too. The acting in those games is incredible.
Are fun. But the Uncharted games are fun.
The acting's incredible, right? Like the voice acting's incredible, the physical acting is incredible. The animators do a tremendous job. Yeah. But for me, it's just I didn't have a lot of actual fun playing it. I found it really trying to play, and that was my big issue with it. And I don't take anything away from people who love it. I'm the minority, and I get that. But that was my major issue with it.
My major issue.
Go ahead.
Was there's one sequence, Rob, you didn't beat it, right?
No, I mean I got to be pretty close to the ending. Though.
Okay, so you'll be this far. There's a part where you get to, and it's an open town, and you can go into many houses. You can go upstairs. You can go in the basements. It's kind of like almost like a crescent you can go in, which I thought was awesome. Except I was never scared because nothing ever really pops out at you in that game. That was the one thing, that Walking Dead has. There's zombies. Could be zombies in the basement of a house. It could be in a closet. It could be anywhere. Last of Us, you know where they're going to be. So it's not
quite clear the way they set up the level design. Isn't
all,
it?
Yeah,
so
all these
houses.
All these houses I went into, I found all the components I needed to make weapons and salvage things. But there was never any monsters. I was just like, okay.
And then you get to a point where it's a street. And you see all these cars and barricades set up, and you've got to get to the other end, and that's where the conflict is going to happen.
A fight's coming. There's going to be a fight.
Yeah.
Chest high walls. Yep.
That drove me nuts. Now, Jay, sorry, just to answer your question from last week, is The Last of Us fun? No, but do video games have to be fun? Is that a requirement? Not all movies have to be fun. Not all music is supposed to be uplifting. So I don't think games have to be fun. What do you guys think? Sorry, Glenn, did you have a thought there first?
I was just going to say that's kind of touching on something that I had said about the game when we talked about it last too, which is I found that the gamey elements were so much more pronounced in light of how well done everything else was, and it really, really bothered me. It's getting to the point now, I think, where the line between the narrative in a game and the actual kind of mechanics of the game as we're getting better at the narrative part of it, we don't seem to be blending those things together as well.
That was the initial problem I had with it, was I didn't want to watch a game. I wanted to play it. So when I was criticizing it, that was my main beef. And then I started to play it, and the story sucked me in.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to get at, though, is like, I could watch a cutscene and I could be really involved in what's going on with the characters, or I could be really blown away by the way they play out a scene. And then 3 seconds later, I'm digging through random garbage, like ferreting out stuff so I can go to a workbench and build a board with a nail in it. and that just seems to be lower. Like, it seems to me like the gameplay mechanics are aiming lower than the rest of the game.
Because you gather all these supplies that you need to go into the next room, Rob, where you have the battle where you use all the supplies. Then you go to the next area where you have to gather them again. That was the only part. And I realize games are repetitive. I understand that. But this one, that part really stuck out. Whereas gather, spend,
but that's just
gather,
exactly
spend.
it, right? Between that formulaic approach to how you have to deal with the game sections and this unoriginal story that we've heard told 20,000 times, it just felt like, why are people celebrating this so much? And I don't get it. And again, I said before, I'm sure I'm late to the party on this title. There's a lot of good stuff to take away. It feels like Uncharted, a series that I do love, but a series I have fun with at the same time. Mm-hmm. This just didn't feel like as fresh as what people wanted me to believe, and I still don't believe it's as a defining game as everybody wants it to be.
You have to be in the right mood to play The Last of Us. I don't think it's a game that you can just pick up anytime. I'm not talking about the multiplayer, I'm talking about the single player now.
Sure.
You really have to be in the mood for a film. You have to be in the mood to watch a story unfold in front of you. It's not like Pac-Man. You're investing in this, right?
Games don't have to be always fun or have that kind of experience. That's why there's so many different kinds of genres, right? They provide different kinds of feelings and play styles and experiences for everybody, and that's why we all have favorites.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to say, again, like totally echoing some of the stuff I'd said, I made the comparison to Schindler's List last episode, where that's an incredibly important film. I think everybody should see that movie, but at the same time, you get a Saturday night free with your girlfriend, you're probably not going to kick back with a bag of Doritos and go, hey, let's watch Schindler's List. Like, you have to be...
This game, too, doesn't make you feel good. Like,
but this is what I'm saying. Like, I couldn't play it when there were other people in my house. Yeah. Like, it was impossible for me to actually get in the mindset I needed to be in to play that game.
You watch that first scene, and spoiler alert, Joel loses someone very important right off the bat. And you're just like, oh my God, like I was like tearing up because it was just like, this is horrible. It doesn't make you feel good.
So one of the things I touched on, guys, is, I played Sniper Elite 3, which by comparison is not as good a game, but I loved being able to pick people off from like 300 yards away and see the bullet go through bullet time and x-ray cam and watch somebody's jawbone smash and all that kind of fun stuff.
Because you're a sick man, that's why.
Because I'm a sicko video game player, and, watch out if I keep playing these kind of games. Who knows what kind of argument I'm going to get into. But that got me thinking, I had a lot of fun just setting up those moments. And throughout video game history, there's a lot of other cool little power-ups or power moves that we can do that we just love to be able to execute. Now, an example that I had is like when you get like one of the stars in Punch-Out, and you're able to like unleash that on a guy and knock him out. That's such a fulfilling moment for me. Or like in Burnout, when you're able to crash your car perfectly and like total so much damage, that's really fulfilling. So, when you guys think about games and like these little moments of executing fulfilling moves, what comes to mind that you just love doing over and over again?
That's easy. The game is Final Fight. The character is Hagar. Final Fight's a beat 'em up. It's when you grapple a guy, jump up in the air, and you press your attack button, and you put him into a pile driver, and the satisfaction you get, you know what I'm talking about, man. The pile driver with Hagar.
Exactly what you're talking about.
Dude, you just, like, because he sits on the ground on the guy's head for a good couple seconds before he bounces back. Oh, that's my favorite move. And any Capcom fighting game has that feeling.
I'm going to pick a recent one. There's so many examples I could come up with, but a really recent one. And I know Jay's played it. I don't know if you got a chance to play it, Rob. Did you play the Destiny beta at all?
I did.
Okay, I'm just going to go on record as saying the melee attack in Destiny is about the best feeling thing in the freaking world. That, like, just pistol whipping somebody.
There's a nice weight There's
Oh,
a
it
weighted
feels-
meatiness to it.
It does. It just feels good. It reminds me of like when you used to pistol whip guys in the original Halo.
Same
And it was like
feeling, yeah.
crazy overpowered, and then they toned it down for Halo 2. It's like
What class were you?
I played Hunter. Is that a class or whatever
so,
the
yeah.
equivalent class was? Yeah,
I was the Void.
I was a
Walker,
hunter
yeah.
as well.
yeah.
So
I
the
was a
Void
hunter,
Walker
too.
kind of does like a magic thing with his hand, and a big like force, if you will, comes out. It was just like slam, and the guy goes back.
Oh,
yeah, you
man,
can.
but
It's like it's like a thick feeling in the controller.
You can
It's
feel
weird.
it. Like
yeah.
it's crazy. Like you can feel it. in
There's
your
a
arms
feedback
almost.
rumble, which is nice. Yeah.
Yeah, but
But
that feels so good.
the sound effects are great too, which help. Right?
Yeah.
It's like just
So you're in the middle and you're like, pegging guys, and a guy comes up behind you and you smoke him on the melon, and it just, oh man, it feels really, really good. So
I gotta
that's
say,
a,
the knife throw in that is pretty fun too. Just
it
on
is.
A side note.
Indeed, it is. So yeah, excited for Destiny if for no other reason than just it's really great to play a shooter on a next gen platform that is very clearly made by a team who has a lot of
well,
experience making them. And
Bungie
it's
takes
just,
their
And one that
time,
runs
right?
at 60 frames per second.
of course, but just having it
'Cause
like
that's what makes it good.
it just feels really good. So that's my
Jay-
really
Jay-
recent example anyway.
Jay, I am kind of surprised that you didn't say Perfect Dark, Matrix mode, big heads, shotguns only.
Oh, shotgun mouth. That's a good one. So yeah, we called it Matrix mode because we would play Perfect Dark multiplayer and slow down. Was it time or the frame rate?
like
so
slow-mo
it was in
settings
slow
or
motion, yeah. And I remember a few times our buddy Chops, he would be coming around the corner, and of course Rob and I would cheat and look at his screen. So we see him come around the
We
corner.
would never screen look ever.
That's a lie. And shotgun right to his face, and just the way the character's head would jerk a couple times. Oh my god, it was so satisfying. And then he'd have the big blood stain on his face. Yeah, that's
That
pretty
brings
good.
up another one, man. No Mercy or WrestleMania 2000, getting a chair in like first blood matches.
Oh,
Bam, when
yeah.
you crack someone open.
running
or like
at
the
him
pedigree or
with
something.
the baseball. Remember the barbed wire bat just whap
Ugh.
right in the eyes.
Or the stairs. Okay, I think Fox News has enough headlines from this show already. We got a ton of questions. I can tell where we are already in the recording time that it's going to be hard to get to the actual topic du jour. So let's just kind of blast through some of these questions, see what you guys think. They're very scattered across the board in terms of what people are curious about. We'll start with Nick DeMarco. He says, since I'm a reseller business owner of these fantastic goods, he's talking about video games, what gaming system do you recommend someone to start on as it seems to relate to gaming? I always steer people, believe it or not, towards the Genesis, as most games and systems are relatively inexpensive. So if someone wants to get into gaming, where are you going to start them? And why?
I'm good. Like, so cost is a factor here.
It sounds like that's his reason for steering somebody to Genesis. I think if you were to say, Atari because it was like, a landmark home console, I think that would be, good. He's saying he steers people to Genesis because it's a cheap entry point for them.
No, I would not agree with Genesis. I would go NES, absolutely.
Why?
You can get a cheap deck. I mean, if you look around, you can get one for, $20-$30. You just got to search. Why? Super Mario Brothers, Legend of Zelda. These are the games that define the industry. I'm not saying the stuff on Atari wasn't, but I mean, nothing pushed the industry forward like Super Mario Brothers. And to not, have the pleasure of playing that title, I think is a crime. You have to start with the NES. Glenn?
Are we talking about classic gaming specifically?
We're talking about whatever.
If you're going to
think
start,
somebody should, if somebody's excited about video games, and Glenn, you think that the PS4 is the best entry point for them, that's totally cool because it runs at 60 frames per second, and that's enough said.
I was going to say, I'm going to really annoy you guys and not use an ancient answer, but I'd say probably a 360 or a PS3.
Why?
They're still relevant cost wise. It's a lot more attractive than the next gen stuff. Still, the libraries are much bigger. I think it's challenging because if you got somebody who's trying to get into gaming now, but you can already play something on your phone that looks better than any of that old gen stuff, I'd argue start something current and move backwards from there. Like I think if you truly love the games and you get a good sense of the variety of what's available out there, you'll go back looking for that stuff.
This is the most turncoat answer ever, but I would say start somebody on the Wii U because they at least have the digital library to try out some of those old games if they wanted to try that. And if they're hooked, then show them the way and how to do it for realsies.
Again, but isn't the argument the cheapest you can find? I mean, we use $300 in Canada. 360 is $300 in Canada. So I mean, you could get an NES for $30. You could get Mario and Duck Hunt for 5 cents.
No, it's not about what's the cheapest way to do it. It's about what system should people go on and why should they start with that system. So it sounded like you said NES because that library is the best library because it has so many landmark games that change the face of gaming.
And you learn the very basics of video game playing with Super Mario Brothers. Do you know what I mean? You learn the mechanics.
And I am cheating, and I'm cheating by saying the Wii U so I can say the digital virtual console.
But I would just say for someone who's never played a video game, like the Wii U pad, even the 360 pad is pretty complex stuff. If you've never played a game, the NES has, 4 buttons and a D-pad. Pretty basic.
Well, you can use the Wii mode on the Wii U, and that's pretty intuitive as over 100 million customers found out.
That's true. That's true. But I'm right.
So that's what we think, Nick. Glenn, did you have any other thoughts on that?
I'm just going to say it's tough. I don't know that there's necessarily a right or wrong answer. It's got like Jay.
Wrong.
Our answers are right. Our answers are right
Star Wars
because we
fan,
speak
Jay,
the truth.
Let's take this as an example. Let's say for the sake of argument you have a child at some point. And
we talked about this in the movie. This exact question. I know what the question is. Can I spoil it?
Sure.
God of Thunder.
What order do you watch the films in?
Absolutely.
What order do you watch the film in? We talked about this in the film. Remember,
you're
we talked
me?
about both questions. Yeah.
Okay,
we
now...
talked about both questions. We said if you had kids, what video game system would you start them on? In what order would you watch the Star Wars films? And I remember your answers, so you better not deviate.
He knows the right answers.
I'm going to tell you what I would do right now, and I'll tell you why. And if it's different, then I might have changed my opinion. But this is what I do. If I had a son named Luke, I'd be like, look, Luke.
Or Anakin.
You're going to watch episode 1 because that is the beginning of the story.
Wrong.
Did I say 4 in the movie? Did I say 4? No, I said 1.
Go ahead, continue.
No, I think I said I would want to start him at 4, but he should start at the first one. Something like that, wasn't it? I can't remember. You have access to all the footage, you son of a gun.
I've got all the answers.
I guess the point I was trying to make is I don't think there's a right answer to that question either, right? I think that's some people are going to choose to do 1 through 6. Some people are going to choose the original trilogy and then go back.
The right answer is 4 through 6 because 1 through 3 don't exist.
Oh, here we go. I know you're saying that.
Machete Order.
Those films don't exist. Let's be honest. They don't count.
Let me tell you something, everyone listening. If you don't like the prequels, then don't watch Star Wars because, like it or not, they're part of the saga. The end.
No, they're not. You've just been fooled to believe that they're part of that franchise. It was a trilogy. It's over and done with. It's Old Testament.
Do Machete Order.
Do what?
Machete Order. You watch you watch A New Hope, you watch Empire, then you watch Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith as a flashback, and you skip
God.
1 and you do Jedi as the last one.
No.
All right, Nick has a second question. What prime examples of retro games are there that never should have been made as sequels, or one that had a sequel that should have never been a sequel? So, what games should have got sequels that didn't, and what sequels should not have existed that did?
Have we fielded that one before?
I think we answered this one already.
I feel like we've talked about it a bit. Let's give the short answers. I think a lot of us would say Sonic probably has way too many sequels, despite what Ian thinks. And, we all wanted more Marios and Zeldas.
I always talked about that I wanted to see a sequel to Little Samson, and there never was one. That
You're
game.
such a hipster. I
Well,
wanted
yeah.
a sequel to Stadium Events. That's what I wanted. A Stadium Events 2.
Did you?
And a Bubble Bobble Part 3.
I'd also talked of wanting a second console Metroid sequel, as opposed to the Game Boy
Well,
one.
then, while we're on the topic, I want another side-scrolling Zelda.
And I want a platforming Zelda.
And I'm not talking about the CDI Zeldas. I'm talking about a Miyamoto
Would you let the
side-scrolling
CDI Zeldas go, please? I'm so glad that they've been absent from Facebook for a while.
I will let them go
What is it-
when I hold them in my possession.
What is it with those? Seriously, how come you're not all over Hotel Mario?
Oh man, have you seen the cinematics in the Zelda games? They are so awful. Remember how cheesy the cartoon was, the Zelda cartoon?
That's a good show, man.
Take that times like 20. It's like, come on, princess. Like this is like way worse. It's like, I wonder what Ganon's up to today. And you feel like you're melting. But anyway, I'll own them soon.
Right.
Hopefully.
Next question is from Michael Kelso. We posed a question on Two Dudes in NES, which is another podcast out there who are always competing with us for the top 10 spots.
Hi, Michael.
During their they posted a question during their Mike Tyson Punch-Out episode that they would love our take on. Why do you think the game has become so popular? Aside from the obvious being that it's an incredibly fun game starring a popular guy at the time, is there any other reason for its success? It was strangely popular in America, but not well known at first in Japan. Thoughts?
I think it's popular because the game plays fantastic. There's not really a boxing game like Punch-Out. I mean, it's almost, well, I guess it's a third-person view, right? Where you're just
It's a third-person fighter.
Yeah, you're like this little guy, and
not to be confused with the first-person shooter.
Each fighter has its own quirks that you have to master. I think Punch-Out's wicked. You're a fan of it.
Punch-Out's awesome. Yeah, I think, and this is and I mean, at no point in my life have I ever had any affection for boxing. Like I've never been a boxing fan, so I mean, I love Punch-Out regardless of that. I think it's partially because the mechanics were really unique for the time. I think the easy way to do a boxing game at that point would have been to do, 2D flat plane, one guy on the left, one guy on the right, you punch each other.
Yeah.
And Punch-Out doesn't do that, right? It does have that really unique perspective where you're kind of looking into your opponent, but you're still able to see your fighter, and that little max character design is largely because they needed you to be able to see who you were fighting while you were actually seeing your character at the same time.
And it was boxing, but it was like a comedic take on it. Like it was a cartoony take. It wasn't this serious like sports game.
Every fighter's different. They all have their own mannerisms. The animation on the characters is really great.
You need lightning fast reflexes to play that game still.
I agree with you guys 100%. Awesome control, great difficulty curve, an amazing rogues gallery of characters that are all memorable, and it had incredible music as well. There's not one element of that game that isn't good. I think in another episode we talked about games that might be films. That would be an interesting film to take, like, to do a different kind of parody on, like, the tournament type of movie, like a Bloodsport or something like that. Because at least all the competitors would stand out and be really kind of cool. Next question for you guys comes from Matt Miller. For each of the guys on the show, what is your preferred NES ice hockey lineup?
Now, I feel like this is top secret info, man, because this could be used against me. I've never really disclosed my lineup.
Feel free to fib or tell the truth. We'll never know. Friend or foe?
Okay. Do you want me to go first?
Yes, I do.
2 fats, 2 skinnies.
Liar!
Cheers.
You're such a liar.
No, I don't use those mediums. The mediums are useless, man. Useless.
No! Everybody knows the only way to win is with 3 fatties and 1 skinny, and you know that best.
So that's your lineup.
No, not at all. No, that's your lineup.
No, 2 skinnies and 2 fats.
Wrong.
G.
I don't play sports games, so I don't have any input.
This is like Punch-Out.
Ice hockey's about as much of a sports game as Punch-Out is a boxing game. Come on now.
I'll tell you though, I played a lot more Punch-Out. So.
It's kind of like Mario Strikers is not really a soccer game. Do you know what I mean? Like it is, but
I know what you mean. I do know what you mean.
Yeah.
It's like Mario Tennis is not a tennis game.
It transcends the genre.
Okay, so that's my lineup, and Glenn doesn't play. What's yours? Come on, don't lie now.
I told you it's 3 fatties and 1 skinny.
That's such a useless team.
Or is it? All right, John Pompa has a question for us. If you could pick any show, live action or animated, or movie from the 80s or early 90s to have an official NES title, what would the Gamercast men pick?
Perfect Strangers for NES.
That would be hilarious. I would love to have to go to the mythical land of Meepos.
Damn right.
I would like to see a Golden Girls. I'd love to see a Golden Girls NES game.
Of course you would. That'd be ridiculous.
I'd want to see. I'm actually looking forward to seeing Balky's accent translated into text on an NES title.
And it could
I
be
like
made.
it.
It could be made by LJN and Belky, and Cousin Larry would look nothing like they do in the show. It would be awesome.
Belky's accent would just be italicized text, and we would have to understand.
Yep, that's my pick.
You know what I'm going to say?
Ugh, no. Don't say it.
Okay.
Mash.
Don't say it.
Well,
That's another fun game with the theme song that's called "Suicide is Painless."
Mash was on Atari. Go ahead.
Transformers.
There was.
No, like a real one.
There was a Famicom Transformers.
Well, there wasn't an NES one.
Okay, fair enough. But there was one based on the show. It was just a Japanese only.
Yeah, but still, I didn't get it. Or a Quantum Leap adventure game.
Yes, choose your
Quantum-
own adventure. Quantum Leap style.
No
Quantum-
Bakula talk on this show.
Quantum Leap done is like a LucasArts adventure game.
You guys see that? Back
Quantum
there?
Leap.
All right,
Oh,
keep
is that
talking.
Scott
I gotta show you guys
Bakula?
something.
Scott Bakula.
That's right.
What, autograph? Oh, why do you have a Scott Bakula autograph? Why?
Because Jay, I got a
Scott
confession for you.
Bakula.
Okay,
Yeah.
I went to a Star Trek Comic-Con, just a Star Trek convention.
All right, I quit. I'm done. The
I went
show's
to a
over.
Star Trek convention and met Scott Bakula. Eat it! And I got him to sign his headshot from 20 years ago from Quantum Leap.
Why didn't you get...
Did he say, oh boy?
Isn't he like young Picard or some crap like that?
Oh boy.
Well, that's how I feel when you bring up the prequels and insult them. No, which one was he
You
in?
still ta-
Which one was he in?
He was
Doesn't
in
matter.
Enterprise.
Okay,
Enterprise.
the next question.
Yuck.
The next question. Michelle Ireland says, if you were on a desert island with only one system and you could choose one, which one would it be and why? I think we may have tackled this one too, but I can't remember. Desert Island console.
Oh, that's easy. N64 for me, hands down.
SNES.
NES for me. Although maybe Genesis.
It's a good question.
NES.
Good question.
Although, whichever console could allow me to create a help message to get rescued from the desert island might be the proper answer.
It's definitely a fair child then. Definitely a fair child.
I want an original Xbox so they could be seen from space and people would know that I was stuck on the island.
But if you have a Super Nintendo, why do you want to be rescued? Think about that.
Oh.
Think about
Is there food on this island? There are other people?
That's irrelevant. Eat the
All
carts.
right, here's another question for you. Okay, this one comes from Nick Stevens. He says, "What's more exciting when collecting? Finding a rare, expensive, not so fun game, or finding a gem from your childhood that might not be considered rare?" Glenn, you can't really answer unless you're talking about going through the digital store.
What's with that? Let me think.
I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. What do you like getting better, Jay? Like a rare title that really sucks, or a game like Punch-Out, which is awesome from your childhood?
As much as I love finding the rare stuff, like the really rare stuff, I would much rather have a game that I actually am going to play instead of just make it a trophy. So, yeah, I would go with the nostalgic one over the rare one.
I 100% agree, with one exception, that the story leading up to getting the rare game is incredible. That could be better. You know, if it's just like an unbelievable, twisty-turny kind of adventure that leads to finding modern-day treasure, maybe as depicted in a certain upcoming film, then that could be better.
I feel like we're treading on thin ice. I don't think we should keep going. Next question.
All right, next question. All right, this is some questions from me, by me, for me, and us. There's a lot of leaks on the Smash Brother characters coming out. Who is missing at this point? Who do we want? Do we really need more? Why are we excited? Why is Jay excited about all these new characters when we all know he's really just going to be Mario or he's not going to play?
No, I'm going to be Little Mac.
Mario or Link? Mario or Link or some hipster Nintendo guy, right?
Well, Rob the Robot's in it. So I want to be him.
So here's the question, Jay.
Yeah.
You're first player. Which player are you not going to let me be?
Well, you can't. Okay, you can't be Mario. You can't.
Of course
be,
I can't.
You can't be Link or Young Link or 8-bit Link if there is one. That would be sweet. You can't be 8-bit Link either.
I think Toon Link's in it again.
Why don't they make 8-bit Zelda 2 Link? Oh, anyway.
Am I allowed to be Pac-Man?
Oh no! That's my guy.
So here's
You
the
can't be
answer
Wii
to my
Fit
own
Trainer
question. Here's why I'm excited. Okay, because the more characters they come out with, the more chance I'll actually be able to be one of these characters.
Yeah, good luck.
With Jay limiting my fun and Glenn giving me the bug eyes. Go ahead, Glenn. What do you think?
Sorry about the bug eyes thing.
Do something, would you? We're paying for this stuff. Say something, would you? We're paying for this.
Who do I think is missing?
Why do we care about all these characters? Are we really going to play with all these different guys? What's the point? What are they going to do for the next one? Everybody's in this one. Do we really care? Oh my god, the dog from Duck Hunt. Whoopity-doo. Bark at that.
That's
Chomp at
cool
this.
because I think we've all wanted to punch that dog right in the face, and now
True.
we can, so that's great.
That's great, except for the guy who gets to be him. Oh wait, let me guess. I get to be the dog from Duck Hunt, so you feel better.
That's the hipster one. I don't think you could be that one either. Sorry, dude. You could be Luigi, maybe, unless he has the vacuum. Then you can't be him.
Then I can't be Luigi. You're going to make a list of the 65 characters that have been announced and the 35 to be announced. And you're going to let me know which ones I can be.
The more, the better. I mean, why would you
know
not
what?
want the more? Like
Can I be... Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
like in Street Fighter, the newest version, Ultra, there's 44 guys. Why would you not want more? Then, I mean, if you really get into Smash Brothers, you have less of a chance of picking or mastering a guy that someone else likes. So I think the more variety you have, the better. Does it make sense?
Jay, I got a simple question for you. When we play Smash Brothers, and I'm sure we will, because we're excited about it, and it's going to be the best game forever and 6 months or whenever it's released, am I allowed to play as my me? Can I at least play as my me?
The answer to that question is yes, you can.
Wow, you're actually going to let me be like a non-Nintendo character.
But he gets to pick which type of fighter your me is.
Yeah, I get to pick your stance.
Why? Why can't I just be one of the main guys that people recognize for once? This has been the story of our friendship for the last 30 years.
I can't allow that, man. I'm sorry.
I can't be a main guy, and I can't be a hipster cool guy. Like if Mauser was in it or Wart, I couldn't be those guys.
Okay, you could be the Pokemon guys. You could be Kid Icarus or whatever his name is. Pit. You can be Captain Falcon. You can't be Fox, but you could be... Is Slippy in it? Is he in it?
No.
He's not? Just Fox?
Thank God.
Okay. You could be any of those guys. And you could be Wii Fit Trainer since that's your hipster character.
Speaking of upcoming games, it looks like we're not going to get a new Mario Kart anytime soon within years, as they've just announced relatively sometime around this show, depending on when you're listening to it, 8 new characters and 16 new tracks to play within the calendar year. Jay, you wanted a brand new Mario Kart game at some point. This is DLC. Is this good enough?
Absolutely. This works. And
this is essentially a brand new game. This is 16 tracks.
But they're doing something they haven't done before, which is they're bringing in Link, for instance. So you're bringing characters that weren't in Super Mario Brothers. So you're almost making it into Nintendo Karts, which I think is a fantastic idea.
Yeah, they're going to have the villager from Animal Crossing in the other one, too. But they're supposed to have like Zelda-themed tracks and an F-Zero themed track. And
so it's essentially Smash Brother
Karts.
Karts. It's Smash Brother Karts.
It's cool, man. Again, the more racers, the better. I always said, and you know, Rob, we talk about this all the time. You know, where's Wart? Where's Mouser? Where's the guys from Mario 2? Now there might be a chance that those characters actually see the light of day. Or who knows? You know, they could bring Samus. They could bring Fox. They could bring anyone. I think it's a great idea.
I just want it simple. I like the characters they are now. Call me a Mario Kart racist if you want. I just like the way it is now. Don't expand. Keep it unique. Otherwise, I just feel like we're doing the same thing over and over again. And instead of fighting on a 2D plane, now we're racing cars with the same cast of characters.
Haters gonna hate.
Seriously?
Am I alone? Yeah, I seriously just like it to be this. Just leave it as it is.
But
otherwise, we're doing the same thing.
It's $12, and I am getting literally half as much content as is already in the game for $12 extra. Like, that's crazy to me. That's huge.
My thing is that
oh man, don't get me started on this, Glenn.
Again, we're going back
go
a few episodes, but if I got a Mario Kart every other year, then it would be different. But I know I won't see another Mario Kart on the Wii U. There won't be. There's going to be.
That's what I said to you. Why would you when they can just give you downloadable tracks? And here they are doing it.
I love that. I think it's awesome. It's about time Nintendo
more
started
digital
doing
content.
That.
I love the digital content because when they turn the servers off, those tracks will be gone, and those characters.
It all depends, really. Depends on what they let you do.
Depends on when they turn those servers off.
Well, I mean, we're good for at least 5-6 more years before they go to another console.
Glenn, you just mentioned, and this will be the last thing to wrap up the show. You just mentioned DLC is like $12, and you're getting essentially like a whole game again. One of the things I posted on Facebook, either my page or the films page, I can't remember now, is this ongoing thing I do weekly called Gem or Germ. It's kind of like an opinion poll where I put a picture of a game up, and I say, is this a gem or is it a germ? And people say, oh, that's a gem, oh, that's a germ. Well, I put Kingdom Hearts 2 up, and there happened to be a price tag on it, okay?
And everybody reacted to the price tag.
Everybody's like, oh, that's not worth $60. That's not worth $60. There's no way I would pay $60 for a PS2 game. And we went on and on and on about what the worth of a game is. And I don't think the worth of a game is where it is, priced in the market at any given point. So I ask you guys, how do you determine the value or the worth of a game? What gives a game its worth or value? Because one of the individuals on there said he wouldn't pay more than $5 for Super Mario Brothers, but he'd pay $60 for any new game. Does that mean those new games are worth more than Super Mario Brothers? Does that have a greater value?
It all depends on your love for the game. If you take
Does that mean something like Donkey Kong is only worth 25 cents? Because that's what you'd pay for it in the arcade?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, my favorite game is still Perfect Dark on the 64, and if all of a sudden one day all the Perfect Dark cards disappeared, and mine included, and I had to buy it again, and it was $200, I would pay that because that's my favorite game. And I don't think you can put a price on something like that makes you happy. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
100%. Glenn, what do you think?
I think about the cardboard Han Solo and carbonate that Jay has at the bottom of his basement stairs. And as a Star Wars fan, he's content to have that cardboard Han Solo and carbonate. As opposed to there's somebody out there who will think that it's perfectly rational to pay $7,000 for a Sideshow Collectibles life-size Han and carbonate. And they'll be able to justify that because it's their money and they have that much, they have that much desire to have that thing. So, it really comes down to whatever you're willing to pay for it.
No, but the value of a game, like what's the worth of a game? Like, I'll be the first one to say, when I buy a new game, I'm hoping I get my $60 worth out of it. So when I got Last of Us, I was like, okay, once I hit past the 6 to 10 hour mark, somewhere in there, I'm like, okay, I can justify my entertainment value for that amount of time. This game has paid for itself. Is there a higher worth on that game? For me, no. But something like Super Mario Brothers, there is a higher worth because it's the experience. How can you put a price on that experience? It's like, Jay, what you're saying. How many hours have you put into Perfect Dark? That experience that you have and still have with that game is priceless. It's priceless. It goes beyond monetary value that's going to fluctuate in the market.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you.
So here's what John Pompa said, okay? He chimed in later on. He says, I think you brought up a good point with Kingdom Hearts, a $60 game now marked down to like $10 because it's an older console. When does a game lose its value? But then when does it start to become collectible? I'm sure in 15 years from now, that Kingdom Hearts will fetch $60 used on a PS2. At what point do you think games like that start going up in value?
A common game like that...
Is it a generational thing?
A common game like that's about 2 gens, I think, because now you're starting to see a lot of the PS2 stuff rise in value, that generation, original Xbox and GameCube stuff. That stuff's starting to really be collectible now, and that's 2 gens back, right? So...
Yeah, it's 2 gens and it's an RPG, which are always higher prices.
And I mean, it also depends on the printing of a game. Like a lot of the Atlas stuff is worth a lot because it's so sought after. Because when they come out, there's not a lot of copies, right? So,
yeah, as opposed to there's a ton of Kingdom Hearts out there,
mm-hmm.
especially since it was a greatest hits title and they republished it, and yeah,
I don't know. I would gladly pay $100 for Super Mario Brothers in a heartbeat.
I agree. And we talked about Punch-Out earlier. I hear people complain about that or Zelda for 20 or 25 and $30. My God, those games are awesome. How can you not say that is worth it when there's so much crap getting, rammed down our throats for 60? I don't understand.
Yeah. I totally agree with you there.
So anyways, that pretty much wraps up the episode. Once again, we did not get to the scheduled theme because we had a lot of great questions and we got to rehash a lot of stuff from last week, which I think was fun. So from Rob McCallum and Jay Bartlett and Glenn Stanway.
Hey guys, thanks again for listening, and keep doing so. Cheers.
Thanks a lot, guys. We'll talk to you all soon.
And we hope to see you at the Classic Gaming Expo in September 12th to 14th in Las Vegas to see some exclusive footage of the NES Club. And like us and say hi to us on Facebook and write in with more questions. Really appreciate it. See you next time.